Hi fam, today I'm here to shake tables. It's not even a joke. We're talking about malaria-typhoid. A lot of people come into my consulting room and like, doctor, I just finished treating malaria-typhoid. Is malaria and typhoid the same illness? Is typhoid a bigger, level of malaria? That's all we're going to be talking about today. So prepare yourself because it's a shaky table time. I'm going to be telling you everything that you need to know about this thing. So stay tuned. Hi fam, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, it's your average Nigerian girl Ada, your favorite doctor in the building. My name is Adobe and I make videos on lifestyle and health because our health is very important. So today we're talking about typhoid and malaria. Typhoid and malaria. So let me start with busting myths because that's what I do. Okay, so the first thing is typhoid is a higher form of malaria. That's not true. It's like when you're suffering malaria, you've taken malaria medicine and it's not working. Just shall know that you have typhoid because it's like the higher form. That's a lie. That's not true. So listen and just watch this video so that you can get everything you need to know about malaria and typhoid. So the way I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be comparing malaria and typhoid. So another myth I also want to talk about is that once I have that Widal test that we used to, it's actually pronounced Vidal test because it's German, but that Widal test we used to do and the titer is high, that once I have high titers, I have typhoid. I'm here to tell you that that's a lie. That's not true. And I'll tell you why in the course of the video, so keep watching. Now the first thing is what causes malaria and what causes typhoid. We know that what causes malaria is a parasite, a mosquito called Plasmodium. What causes typhoid is actually a bacteria, Salmonella typhi or Salmonella paratyphi. By the time you finish this video, you almost be a doctor. I'm just joking, doctor of typhoid and malaria. I'll just joking, Sha. Okay, so how is malaria transmitted? We have it via mosquitoes. How is typhoid transmitted? Interesting enough, they have very different routes of transmission. Typhoid is actually transmitted through water, the fecal-oral routes, the water that you drink, what you put in your mouth, your food, things like that. This bacteria hides in water, it hides in food. In fact, historically, there's a woman regarded as Typhoid Mary. She was a food seller. There are people who are typhoid carriers. They carry typhoid, but they do not suffer it. So every time she served people food, they were all coming down with typhoid. So she was called Typhoid Mary. So yes, typhoid is through the mouth, what you put into your mouth. And normally, how do those organisms get into food, into water? Through what's it called, physics as sheets, through urine also, but urine is very, very small. It's majorly through physics. Now, so what are the symptoms of malaria and symptoms of typhoid, so that you will know when you have malaria and when you have typhoid? Now, I will not lie to you. The truth is that malaria can present anyhow it likes. We call it one of the great masqueraders of medicine. Masquerade, you cannot really see its face. But thank God, because we are in an endemic region, that's where malaria is really high. We normally present, maybe someone is having fever, the person is feeling weak, he's having headache, he's having joint pains, things like that. You suspect that, okay, this person has malaria. But typhoid is a little bit bigger, not a little bit. Typhoid is way bigger than that. When a patient has typhoid, yes, the person has fever, but the pattern of fever is different. The temperature keeps climbing. That's what we call step ladder, like you're going from one ladder to the other. That temperature keeps climbing. Another thing is that the patient can have severe pain, stomach pain. The patient have severe stomach pain. The patient can also have diarrhea. The patient can have constipation, can have diarrhea. Those are the issues. The patient has severe, when you're having malaria, you can literally stand up from the bed just that that you're feeling very weak, except a foreigner that just came to Nigeria and this is the first time you're having malaria. Normally with malaria is vibes and you just, I'm having malaria, that kind of thing. But the patient that has typhoid is severely weak, cannot even stand up from the bed. Okay, so that's one of the things that we know. And then to take it even further, in children, typhoid can be very severe to the extent that it can burst their intestine. Yes, Typhoid can burst children's intestine. So it's important that the people who have fever come to the hospital. Don't assume it's malaria. Don't assume it's typhoid. Just come and let us find out what it is that is wrong with you. So how do we, let's talk about that lab test I told you about. That's Vidal test. That's what, let's call it Vidal test, because that's what we normally hear. Okay, it used to be used in the olden days to make diagnosis of typhoid, but we found out now that a lot of things can give you positive results. For example, if you have malaria and you do Vidal test, it can be positive. The titers can be high. If you had typhoid before, which we suspect that a lot of us have had maybe a small dose, and then we now have antibodies, because what that Vidal test is actually is measuring the level of antibodies that you have to the bacteria, the typhoid bacteria. That's what the Vidal test is really. So other illnesses, other bacteria can raise the level. So now we no longer advise Vidal test for making a diagnosis of typhoid. What we actually do is culture. We culture and we see that bacteria grow in the lab, and we can say, yes, this is the salmonella bacteria. So is it that they are taking your, depending on the week of the illness, that's medical stuff, let's not go into it. Depending on the week of the illness, blood can be taken, urine can be taken, stool can be taken, even bone marrow sample can be taken from the bone marrow to do tests and culture this typhoid and make sure that this typhoid is what the person actually has is typhoid. Why am I talking about this thing so much? What if it's not typhoid? Now it should not just be typhoid, because the antibiotics that we're using right now to treat typhoid, because they had somebody would just have fever and go and buy Bicham Ampiclox and take, or buy ciprofloxacin and just be drinking. Some of those people do not even finish taking the drugs. Now these antibiotics are used to treat other very severe illnesses. Let me give you an example. This ciprofloxacin that we drink anyhow is a second line drug for tuberculosis. So it means that if the first line does not work, this is what we're supposed to fall back to. How do I explain this? You don't have the disease and you're taking the antibiotics. What you're doing is you're building resistance. When you now have the illness, those antibiotics will not work. So let's take for example, somebody that takes Cipro habitually. He just used to just go and buy Cipro and just be drinking anyhow. If he has TB and the first line does not work, we cannot use that Cipro for second line, and that becomes very dangerous amongst other things. So it's actually quite a serious issue. Forget say they laugh about the thing. It's actually something very, very serious. Stop buying Bicham Ampiclox all the time. Before even augmentin is supposed to be a big antibiotic. People just used to buy it anyhow and just be taking. No, that's not correct. We'll talk about abuse of antibiotics and other drugs later, but that's for another video. Now, so what should we do to prevent this malaria and typhoid? I already have a video on prevention of malaria, which I'll link at the end of the video. So make sure you just run and go and watch it. Let's talk about prevention of typhoid. Watch the water that you drink. Okay, now most of us drink sachet water, but we don't know where it is from. We're just like, Lord help us and make it clean. If you can boil your water, please boil your water. Boiling water removes all of these things. So if you can filter the water also, please filter the water. That could help. The second thing I want to talk about is wash your hands. Okay, remember I said that the way that this typhoid is transmitted is through the shit and the urine. So if you finish using the toilet, I know it is sounding redundant right now, but there are people who forget to wash their hands. Wash those hands. Please wash your hands. When you come back from work, we don't know who you've shaked, who you've touched, all that stuff. Wash those hands. Do you know people? Let me give you an example of things that get on our hands and we don't even know that they are there. Do you know people blow their nose and rub it on handrails? So you climb the staircase in an office. I know it's disgusting, but bear with me. You climb the staircase in an office and you put your hand on the handrail. You don't know you were collecting somebody's snot from their nose. Yeah, those are the kind of things that happen. Even your phone. You don't know the amount of microorganisms that are on your phone. So wash your hands as frequently as you can. One other thing I want to talk about is don't be eating everywhere, anywhere you enter, you just eat. Look at the environment of when you have to eat out. Look at the environment. Look at where they are cooking those food. Don't enter any buka, any buka you are found there, you're just eating. You have that typhoid that you've not had since. Watch where you eat. If you can cook your food yourself, it is better for you because you know the source of the water, you know you're washing your vegetables well and things like that. If you cannot, please watch where you eat. And I hope that God helps us all, because some of those places might look clean, but it is water from somewhere, from a stream, that they used to cook the food. Lastly, if you're building wells, don't build it close to. If you're digging wells, don't dig it close to sock away. That happens in a lot of houses. So if you're looking at a house to get, look at where they put the sock away and where the water source is coming from, because things can be mixing under the ground, if you know what I mean, if it's too close. So with all this, I believe that we can prevent typhoid. What is the take home? Stop taking Cipro anyhow. Stop taking Bichaman Piclox anyhow. Stop taking Augmentin anyhow. You're going to cause resistance for us and it will become wahala. Wash your hands. Watch the water that you drink, watch what you eat, and you'll find out that you don't have typhoid. If you are sick, please go to the hospital and see a doctor who will give you the right tests to do